The Living Corset by John C. Adams. Read by E.S. Wynne. After our father died, my stepbrother Nzeme returned to his maternal grandmother's ancestral village. Nzeme belonged to the Mwiatham tribe, so he claimed sanctuary with them after the local Stasi chief drove him out of town. I was driven out too. Nzeme and I had witnessed our father's death. To cover up for his son's role in the tragedy, the chief decreed that any child of Andrew Flint found in the vicinity would be killed. 15-year-old Nzeme had arranged for me to stay at Our Lady's Hospital of Healing, a day's hike from his village, for a couple of weeks. 6 months later, no permanent solution had been found to the question of where I should live. There were 20 nuns at Our Lady. The convent was deep in the jungle, and we seldom received any visitors. It was unlikely that the Stasi would ever find me there. The nuns were mostly local women, drawn from the Mwiatham tribe. 3 nuns were of mixed race. 2 had had white fathers, and, in a case that appeared to cause the nuns inexplicable discomfort, 1 had had a white mother. They accepted me, a pale, thin, blonde English girl of 18, who was often tearful, without question. I had dreaded staying here, but the months I spent with them, healing the sick and learning the art of nursing with an ability that would have surprised my father, the doctor, were the happiest I had known since my mother had died 5 years earlier. Nzeme came to visit me every other Saturday. He was wary of the nuns and usually loitered on the edge of the jungle just out of sight of the convent's main door. I made my feeble impression of an Evtilia to check Nzeme had arrived. A more proficient Evtilia call, only just distinguishable from the real bird, answered me. I found Nzeme squatting by the carcass of a fresh Evtilia. I knelt beside him and stroked its beautiful purple plumage. The Mwiatham considered the bird sacred, but this one had been shot in the neck with a small dart. "Don't touch, Dee." I looked at my stepbrother in amusement. The bird had been healthy. Stroking the feathers couldn't do me any harm. This bird was killed by the nuns. I brushed Nzeme aside with typical older sibling superiority. "Watch for the white girl. She arrived here tonight." I shook my head. I was probably the only white girl for 1,000 miles. I was used to it. In our old town of Natema, which was large by Stasiland standards, Dad and I had been the only Europeans other than occasional parties of missionaries passing through. Nzeme sprang up. He rested on his spear. He seemed unusually serious. "Mother Superior traveled to Nyonga, 2 days upriver, to collect a girl." "What girl? Coming here? What for?" Nzeme refused to say more, no matter how hard I pinched him. He left without giving up his secret. Mother Superior had been away for a week. I didn't know where. She returned that night whilst I was praying. When I went into the refectory, she said, "Diana, come and help me in the ward." Mother Superior had lived in the convent all her life. Her parents had died in a fever epidemic, and the villagers had blamed the baby born 2 days before it started for the deaths. They dumped her outside the convent. She had been rescued from a pack of hungry Gadungi bush dogs. She always said she'd been lucky to be born into the Mwiatham. The Stasi would have killed her outright. Mother Superior showed me into the small room off the main ward. A white girl of about my age was tied to the bed. She was gagged. "Is she infectious?" "Felicity has a moral contagion. I will show you how we deal with that here." Mother Superior nodded towards the cupboard. I went over, opened the creaky wooden door, and looked inside. In place of the usual dusty rows of out-of-date medicine bottles and rolls of bandages, I found a bird skeleton. Just the torso, no head, legs, or wings. I drew it out, and Mother Superior held out her hands. As I carried the skeleton over, I felt it move in my hands, and I dropped it with a scream. Felicity stared at the skeleton torso on the stone floor. She struggled against her bonds. Her eyes widened. She began pumping her body up and down on the bed. Mother Superior pushed her down. I went to help, but I kept a wary eye on the Evtilia skeleton as I crossed the room. "What's wrong with her?" Mother Superior shook her head and avoided my gaze. Under her tutelage, I'd cleaned wounds and treated fevers. I'd emptied bedpans, washed naked people of both sexes and all ages, and cleaned up after their incontinence. That was nursing. I'd also watched her amputate a gangrenous leg without flinching, and give thanks to the Lord on her knees afterwards that she'd been able to save a life. "What is it?" Mother Superior sighed. "She's been approaching local men. Many local men. Most of them are married. Some fought her off. Others didn't try." I glanced down at Felicity. A sly look crossed her face. It was a sort of smugness at the pleasure she'd enjoyed, crossed with anger at being here against her will. I swallowed nervously. "Fetch the corset." I crept back over to the skeleton torso and picked it up. It was more animated than before. It strained to open itself in my hands. I ran back and pushed it at Mother Superior. She took it with a grave expression on her face and turned it over in her hands. She'll be much more comfortable when it's fitted. Such women are plagued by their desires, and they have no means to control themselves. I stared at Felicity. Her green eyes darted around the room. She strained against the ties and lifted her body up off the bed again. Mother Superior held the torso out towards her, and it stretched wide open in her hands. She slowly placed it over the girl's chest, and it shrunk until it fitted snugly. The girl remained still. Mother Superior gently untied her gag. "You whore! I'll kill you for this!" Mother Superior didn't flinch. She drew back and waited. I watched as the corset of bones tightened. The joints crackled as they moved. Felicity began to gasp. She writhed and twisted, but the corset stayed firmly in place. "Damn you!" The corset gave one last squeeze. Then it was still. Felicity glared at me and spat at Mother Superior. The latter wiped the spittle from her good-natured, round face and said, "Try to sleep a little. When you wake, you won't feel those burning urges any more. You are very lucky. You have a happy life ahead of you, my dear." Mother Superior turned down the gas lamp and ushered me into the main ward. The other patients, 2 old men with infected feet, and a woman who'd just given birth to a deformed baby that had died an hour after delivery, were sleeping. "How does it work?" Mother Superior patted my arm. "It squeezes until she hasn't the breath to misbehave. When she behaves well, it leaves her alone. She soon learns the difference. Healthy urges are nothing to worry about. Married couples need to show they love each other. You have known a father who loved his wife, but who strayed and fathered a child with a local woman. Even that happens. It is the way of the world." I frowned when I thought about how much pain my father's liaisons with local women had caused my mother. "But this is a sickness. Her mother says that this girl has harassed every man for miles around. They are here in Africa to serve the Lord. How can she marry if she behaves like this? What respectable man would have her?" We walked back into the refectory and ate supper in silence. About 20 minutes later, the quiet of the early evening was broken by screams. Mother Superior and I rushed back to the ward. One of the old men was grappling with Felicity. Mother Superior and I dragged her back to her room. I examined the restraints. They'd been cut straight through. I searched under the bed and found a small knife. I turned it over in my hands, wondering how Felicity had hidden it from us. "Poor fellow in the ward got more than he bargained for from a trip to the hospital." Mother Superior shook her head. She wagged her finger at Felicity. "You should be ashamed of yourself. I promised your mother no more of this. Your fiancé is a very forgiving Christian, but you can't push him much further. Even righteous men have limits, girl." Felicity snarled at us. Mother Superior didn't tie her down again, but she did make the sign of the cross over Felicity before she left the room. We left her locked in the little room. Mother Superior asked me to look in through the hatch later to check all was well. I did so by the light of a paraffin lamp just before midnight. Felicity was rubbing herself between her legs and moaning. Sister Agatha, who was on duty in the main ward overnight, joined me. She seemed much less embarrassed than I was to be watching a virtual stranger like this. "One night like this usually does the trick. She'll be quiet in the morning." She patted my arm. "You'll see." Felicity joined us all at breakfast the next morning, as if nothing had happened. She wore a cream silk blouse, slacks, and shiny black leather boots. "I'm still wearing this terrible contraption," she said, smiling, "but I'm getting used to it." Sister Agatha, sitting at the other end of the table, murmured, "Leave it on for as long as you can. Give it the full chance to keep you under control." "Oh, I will, sister." Felicity chattered away about her fiancé for the rest of the meal. She slipped away for a walk around the convent gardens before her mother came to collect her. She kissed Mother Superior goodbye and shook hands with me. We watched their party hike away along the jungle trail. It was a day's walk to the nearest river port, and after that 2 days sailing upriver to their town. After they'd gone, I wandered in the gardens for a while. The gardens were beautiful and secluded, a haven away from the cackle and roar of the jungle birds and animals. I sat on a wooden bench near the medicinal plants and tucked my feet under it. I kicked something. When I bent over and looked, I saw it was the corset. Mother Superior packed the corset away into a wooden trunk at the back of our storage room next to the main ward. As we closed the door, she murmured, "Felicity will never know a moment's peace until this is sorted out. Neither will her fiancé. I gave her mother a spare. I hope she finds the strength to force it on Felicity." 2 days later, a bedraggled party returned to the convent. Felicity, her mother, and 2 of their 5 local guides made it back. Mother Superior took Felicity back without asking any questions about what had happened in the jungle or where the other 3 local guides had gone. The glint in Felicity's eye had returned. "We'll do all we can," Mother Superior told Felicity's mother. "I'll telegraph you with an update the next time one of us visits the town. It is likely to take longer than I thought to sort this out, but I will keep trying." After the other had left, she added to me, "Pray for them, Diana. Pray for us all. We are going to need it."